Alright, here we go with a new set of notes. This is lesson 1.6 here, so make sure you're taking down notes for 1.6, and 1.6 will be the assignment that you complete after this. So this is going to be a little bit like the last lesson we had before our quiz. So just as a quick reminder, with powers of 10, so this entire number here we call a power. And then, of course, 10 being our base. That is the number that we're going to use as our factor. And then, in this case, we have a negative. It's still an exponent. That does not change just because it's negative. All right. So, under this algebra etiquette note, whenever we are working in algebraic expressions and equations, we often want to, well, most of the time want to change our negative exponents to positive exponents, and we are going to learn how to do that right now. So how do we get rid of negative exponents? So we're going to write the reciprocal here. So all reciprocal means is flip your fraction. So just as a side note, if I had 3/4 and I wanted to take the reciprocal of it, all we're going to do is flip it over. So the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. So we're just going to apply that to our powers of 10 here. So what they're doing is they're taking 10 to the negative 4, writing it as a fraction. So all they need to do is throw a 1 under it, and that is its fraction, and then flip it. They took the reciprocal, so they flipped it around and changed their exponent to a positive number. So 1 over 10 to the 4th power is the reciprocal of 10 to the negative 4th. So just remember that big weird word reciprocal means to flip your fraction upside down. Alright, so we're going to try these. So we're going to rewrite each power so that there are no negative exponents. Well, all I needed to do was flip my power here and use a positive exponent. So same thing for number 2. We're just flipping our fraction, 1 over 10, and then our negative 8 would become a positive 8. And same thing, easy process here. We're just flipping over our base as a fraction and turning our exponent to a positive. 1 over 10 to the 23 is the same thing as 10 to the negative 23rd, just written with a positive exponent. So this table might look a little familiar, except we're used to seeing, or used to turning them into this decimal form here, but we can rewrite decimals as fractions, so that's all this is telling us to do. So 1 over 10th, or 10 to the negative 1st, sorry, we would flip it over. 1 over 10 to the 1st power, which is just 1 over 10. 10 to the negative 2nd, they flipped their fraction and kept their exponent on the bottom positive now, turned it from a negative to a positive when they flipped it, and 10 squared is still just 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100, so they get their 1 over 100 right here, which of course we're used to seeing that from when we turned it into decimals. That negative 2 told us that there would be 2 decimal places in total, but that is the same as 1 over 100 here. So that table continues the same way. So how many factors of 10 in the denominator for 10 to the 13th? Well, just like 10 to the positive 13th, there are going to be 13 zeros in the, or 13, factors of 10 in the denominator, which over here would give us a denominator with a 1 on top, a 1 on the bottom, and 13 zeros after that 1. So this is just explaining, once again, going through the steps here. So we write the reciprocal, flip the fraction, so this will be 1 over 10. Now that we have our fraction, it's not in standard form since there's still an exponent, so remember that exponent turns positive. So we want to change our power of 10 into a standard number and leave it in the denominator. So we have 1 over, well, 10 to the third is 1,000. So that is how we're going to change these into fractions. So remember that negative exponent means I'm just taking the reciprocal, and then once I take the reciprocal, that exponent becomes positive. So we're going to go through a few of these real quick, and then after that is this will be your assignment, this independent practice piece here. So let's take care of these first. So as a fraction with a positive exponent, 10 to the negative 7 will turn into 1 over 10 to the 7th. As a fraction in standard form, well, that will be 1 over, we know 10 to the 7th will be a 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros. And as a decimal, if we remember 10 to the negative 7th will be point, so we want 7 decimal places total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that 1 goes in the 7th place. And that works like that because this 10 to the 7th here on the bottom is 10 million, and we have 1 10 millionth. So if we check this out, we've got tenths place, hundredths place, thousandths place, 10,000ths place, 100,000ths place, millionths place, 10 millionths place, and we have a 1 in the 10 millionths place, so 1 over 10 million. That's why that is the same there. All right, so 10 to the negative 5th, well, we're going to take our reciprocal here and then turn our exponent positive. As a fraction, that'll be a 1 over, well, 10 to the 5th is 100,000. And as a decimal, we need 5 decimal places total. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 10 to the 7th would be a decimal with, well, we need 7 decimal places total for that, right? So it would be 6 zeros and a 1. 10 to the negative 23rd as a decimal, we would need it to have 23 decimal places total. So it would be a decimal with 22 zeros and a 1 in that 23rd spot. So 0.000001 here, if we were to write it as a power, would have a 10 as its base, and for the exponent, well, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decimal places, so that would be a negative 6 as the exponent because this number is much smaller than 1 here. All right, so the rest of this independent practice here will be posted as a file that you can open and copy from there as well. And remember to turn this into the 10-6 turn-in bin.